Hi, I'm Tori. A lot of people on the internet look and sound like therapists, but they're not. And this has become a real big problem for me as a therapist because I'm even falling for this shit. A lot of us can't tell the difference. Even therapists can't tell the difference until you really do some digging. And that matters a lot more than we think. So I wanted to make this video just to kind of, if nothing else, show people how to use their own discernment, because I've been going, I don't know, maybe the last 2-3 months thinking this one guy was a clinical psychologist and mental health practitioner. But I found out today that he's actually not. He's not a mental health practitioner by definition. Well, we'll get into it. I'm not saying this guy's a bad guy. I'm not saying he shouldn't exist on the internet. I don't want this to come off like an attack or anything like that. But I do want this to be a learning experience for all of us, that not everybody who has doctor in front of their name that's giving mental health advice to people on the internet is a clinical psychologist credentialed to assess, diagnose, and treat mental disorders. I want to set this up by showing you this guy. His name is Dr. John Delony. I don't know. I've been personally subscribed to this guy for maybe the last 3 months. 2 months was when I found him, and I immediately thought, oh, Dr. John giving advice, mental health advice on his YouTube channel. He must be a clinical psychologist. I never thought to dig until literally present day today. And I think while I don't feel like we need to be credentialed to give mental health advice, I think what this guy, again, I'm not trying to attack him, but I think what a lot of people on the internet do who give mental health advice is they kind of leave their credentials at the door. So we're gonna watch this video together. Here's his page. So before I set this up, there's nothing on this page that says that he's a mental health clinician. He doesn't outright say I'm a psychologist. So he's not outright impersonating a psychologist, but on its face, you see Dr. John so-and-so. He's giving mental health advice to people on his show. Your immediate jump to is this guy's a clinical psychologist, because that was mine. And I'm a fucking therapist. It wasn't until I watched one of his videos where he was giving advice and he was talking to somebody because the guy takes calls, and maybe we'll watch some of those videos too. He takes phone calls into his show, people having all of these outrageous issues, and he gives advice to these people. It wasn't until I watched him give advice or talk to somebody that I was like, there's no way he's a therapist talking like that. And then that prompted me to look up his credentials, and sure as shit, he's not a therapist. He's not a mental health clinician at all. He has let's just watch the video, and then we'll go into his credentials.
What is up? This is John with Dr. John Delony's show, talking about your emotional health and your relationships and your mental health, whatever you got going on in your life.
My mother-in-law believes in some out there conspiracy theories.
My wife and one of my best friends had over a year-long affair.
My stepdaughter identifies as a fox.
I wanted to get some advice on how to deal with my social anxiety.
Our 5-year-old saw my husband and I having sex.
Okay, I gotta paint me the whole picture.
Okay, this, no problem, fine. There's some outrageous people asking for advice from this guy who's almost very tap dancing on this, positioning himself as a mental health therapist.
Here, tell me the story. Here's what makes this show unique. I've been walking alongside hurting people for more than 2 decades, right? And I got 2 PhDs. I got all the nerds.
Okay, this is where I have the problem. My problem is that he's talking about his PhDs as if it qualifies him to act like a therapist, or again, to tap dance. Am I saying that this guy is a fraud? No. He has 2 PhDs. Let's look them up. Delony began his career in higher education, leadership, and student affairs position at a Christian university. He eventually became assistant dean of students at LCU. Okay, so while you can deal with conflict, still doesn't qualify you as a mental health practitioner, because you're not. None of these credentials tell me that this guy is qualified, has licensure to act like a therapist on the interwebs. Anyway, at Texas Tech University School of Law, Delony served as Associate Academic Dean of Students and liaison to the broader university campus life office. He also chaired the Student Support and Emergency Team, advised the Student Bar Association. Again, none of this looks like therapy to me. In May 2018, Delony joined Belmont University as Associate Provost and Dean of Students. Provosts don't deal, if you know what a provost is of a school, they deal with academics. They don't deal with mental health shit. I'm not seeing it. Delony joined Ramsey Solutions in 2020, Dave Ramsey, the guy who gives money advice on the internet, as a Ramsey personality specializing in mental health and interpersonal relationships. Okay. He co-hosts the nationally syndicated radio program, The Ramsey Show, and hosts his own podcast, The Dr. John Delony Show. He's written a bunch of books, but it still doesn't show here what his credentials are. And I really feel like this is purposeful. And I can't help but feel that way. I can't help but feel as if this guy's credentials are not being broadcast to us because he's positioning himself very, very closely to being like a therapist. Okay? And we're going to get back to the video eventually. But actually, let's get back to the video now. Let's look.
Sat with a bunch of people. But at the end of the day, this show serves as a place where people can call in and actually be honest, actually get their question answered, and then get some actionable steps to what they're going to do next.
Sounds like a life coach to me. You have a question, you're going to get an honest answer, and you're going to get actionable steps.
You've cast him in a movie that he doesn't even know he's in, and you are really mad that he doesn't know the lines. On behalf of mental health practitioners across America.
That's where I have a problem. That tiny little statement in this intro video where he says, on behalf of mental health practitioners across the United States, or wherever he fucking says.
We thank you for providing us a new generation of clients.
You're not a mental health practitioner. So there is like subtle positioning of this guy positioning himself as a mental health practitioner, right? And again, maybe I am kind of going after him a little bit. My main problem is not just with this guy. You know, if he wants to give advice on the internet to people who trust him, by all means, live your life. But where I have a problem is when you start positioning yourself and almost purposely leaving information out, or putting, in this case, information in to make yourself look like a mental health practitioner, to prop yourself up as this expert. I'm just a little skeptical. Anyway, Dr. John Delony has 2 PhDs, one in counselor education and supervision, and the other in higher education administration. He also has a Master's of Education in Higher Education Administration. So this guy doesn't have any licensing credentials that would make him a mental health practitioner. These summaries aren't the best, but whatever. They provide assessment and diagnosis of mental health conditions, offer therapy and counseling to individuals, couples, or groups, develop treatment plans tailored to each client's needs, educate clients about mental health and coping strategies, collaborate with other healthcare professionals for comprehensive care, and advocate for clients' rights and access to mental health resources. Out of all of these 6 bullet points, the only thing that this man is, I guess, qualified to do is educate clients about mental health and coping strategies. And yet here he is on his YouTube page referring to himself as a mental health practitioner. And herein lies the issue. I take issue with this as a mental health practitioner, but I also take issue with this as somebody who is a consumer as well. And I felt duped when I finally watched the video of him giving some sort of advice to some poor woman who is a people pleaser. That's what prompted me. It came up on my YouTube and it was like advice for a people pleaser, whatever the fuck it was. Actually, I could probably find it. And I was like, oh, I can relate. Let's watch. And I never actually had seen, I followed him, but I've never seen his videos longer than like 2 minutes. So I clicked quickly. And when I watched this guy interact with this woman, I was like, ain't no fucking way this guy is a therapist. Cause he wouldn't be talking like that. And sure as shit, he's not. But he's positioning himself like that. So my issue is not that he's giving advice on the internet, but that he's positioning himself like that. I'm not saying that these people are bad or they shouldn't exist, but I think that we need to be honest about what it is we're looking at. You know, I think mental health content can be really helpful for people. I think that advice can be really helpful for people, but advice and therapy are two different things. They're not the same. Let me show you what I mean.
All right, let's go out to Thelma and Luis in Portland, Oregon. Hey, what's up, Luis?
Morning, Dr. John. Thanks for taking my call.
Of course. What's happening?
I would like help with getting better at not giving people a vote in my life.
Ooh, I like this one. All right, so go for it.
Well, I've listened to you for a long time, and when I hear you say that, in my head and intellectually, I'm like, yes, I get this. And unfortunately, I've been sort of a fixer and a people pleaser my whole life. And so then I find myself not so much with people saying, oh, you should do this or you should do that, but almost giving people a vote into how my day goes. And then I get upset because somebody's mean or I have a bad interaction, and then I'm upset about it. And then I'm like, you gave them a vote. And then I'm doubly mad at myself. So I would just
First of all, I'm not even going to comment.
like some tools to get better at that, I think.
Whew, man. Okay, you're going to have to just promise that you'll hold my hand through this because it's going to be uncomfortable before we get to the other side. Is that cool?
I've been uncomfortable for 50 years. I'm ready to get uncomfortable more to make this different. I can't keep living like this.
I love your spirit on this one. Okay, so give me 2 or 3 of your best qualities.
I'm empathetic. I feel people's emotions, and I feel like I try to listen and understand where they're coming from. I'm a caregiver. I'm a physician, And so I know from your past career, I think you know me even though you don't know me. Yeah.
Okay. Oh man, we're friends, right?
Yes.
This is where I see things going a little. I didn't even finish this whole video, this whole spiel. But I can tell you that as a therapist, this is not how you handle somebody who has chronic people-pleasing issues.
I'm ready.
What if I told you that maybe you're not empathetic, but that empathy is a tool? It is the syringe to get you the drug you need, and the drug you need is other people's approval.
What if I told you this was all your fault? What if I told you that you, my people-pleasing friend, are the fucking asshole?
Other people to say you're
totally
good.
See that.
And so you're not empathy or compassionate in the traditional sense, or the way we would look it up in Webster's dictionary. Compassion and empathy are tools you have weaponized to get what you want, which is everyone in your world to be okay.
Isn't that exactly what empathy is, though? Empathy is I care about other people and can put myself in other people's shoes. And I can empathize with them, and I want them to be okay because I can feel what they're feeling. I'm not following. Okay.
Yeah, I can see that.
And when they're not okay, you get pissed off at them for not.
First of all, where is he coming up with this conclusion that she gets pissed off? When I'm watching this, I'm like, so he's making a lot of assumptions. He's making a lot of assumptions about a woman who he's only spoken to for all of what? He's spoken to this person for all of 60 seconds. And he is saying, maybe the people-pleasing part, sure, fine. Some people do people-please because they just want everybody to be happy with them. And that makes them feel okay, right? And so I guess, sure, egomaniacs. What egomaniacs you people-pleasers are. But how are you drawing the conclusion that she gets pissed off? You're just pulling that out of the fucking sky and throwing it out there and maybe hoping that it's true. And now watch what she says.
And so you're not empathy or compassionate in the traditional sense, or the way we would look it up in Webster's dictionary. Compassion and empathy are tools you have weaponized to get what you want, which is everyone in your world to be okay.
Yeah, I can see that.
And when they're not okay, you get pissed off at them for not letting you have my drug, right?
Yeah, or I feel like I did something wrong. I didn't do something right, or I...
Right. So she's correcting him, and she's like, well, actually, no, I beat myself up, and I feel like I'm doing something wrong and that I'm to blame. Which, by the way, is typical, like, people-pleaser mentality. I don't know where he's drawing this conclusion that people pleasers are just these angry fucking people when they're unable to. He's kind of positioning people pleasers as these narcissistic, ego-driven maniacs who, if we can't please other people, we get really angry because you're cutting off our drug, our supply. But that's not actually, people pleasers tend to turn in on themselves. And if they can't help other people, they're so empathetic that if they can't help other people, they feel like it's a deficit within themselves. Moving on.
I didn't do a good enough job, to fix everybody else's life. And I realize it's not my job, but,
why'd you become a physician?
So now he's trying to, this woman's a doctor. So now he's trying to get to this point that she became a physician because she's addicted to people pleasing, but because she's really an egomaniac. Basically, this is the implication that he's kind of making. And just watch what she says.
The classic line to help people.
Where did that spirit come from?
I've been that way my whole life.
Because you had to be, or because that just was your orientation?
I think it's probably more orientation, and then in my upbringing, that was my role for sure.
That was your job. Yeah.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, your drug of choice is one that we just give you $350,000 a year and call you doctor, and we celebrate as a society. If you just drank like a regular person, then we could go to AA and none of this would be an issue, right?
Right.
This is somebody that, as a therapist, I would hear and immediately go to, you have some sort of childhood trauma or something like that made you be this way, right? He's taking it from a standpoint of you're being selfish for being a people pleaser and almost like shitting on her for it. Whereas I believe, it is my opinion, that a therapist wouldn't take that approach. A therapist might dig a little deeper and try to find out maybe where these, and he kind of does this a little bit, but like try to find out where these people-pleasing tendencies might have stemmed from, and then work through that and maybe remind the person that certain people-pleasing tendencies might have been, I don't know, I'm going off the cuff here, but certain people-pleasing tendencies might have been survival mechanisms growing up. Because a lot of the times when we people please, it's to placate most of the time to an adult that we're afraid of, or that we don't want to piss off, or that we want to always be happy with us. So that's fight, flight, fawn, freeze. People pleasing is fawning. It's a trauma response. And he's talking to somebody who has a very clear trauma response, as if she can just flip a switch and turn it off. And then also like she is a piece of shit for doing it, and she's actually not empathetic. I'm going to shame you into not people pleasing anymore. When I watched this, I was like, this guy's not a mental health practitioner. I watched it and I was getting so mad that was what prompted me to look up his credentials, because I was like, there is no way this guy's a psychologist. There's no way that he's a fucking doctor of social work. I'm watching it. I'm like, what is this guy's doctorate in? And sure as shit, it's not in counseling or psychology or social work or any of that. And so this is, again, I'm not doing this to shit specifically on him. I want to draw attention to the fact that people like this exist on the internet, and it is very easy for even a therapist to just assume that if somebody has doctor in front of their name and is giving mental health advice, well, then their doctorate must be in psychology. Then they must be a practicing licensed clinician of some sort. And no, that's not the case. So if you're watching this sort of stuff, on the surface, maybe it can look helpful, but realistically, I can't imagine how helpful shaming a people pleaser who most likely became a people pleaser from some sort of trauma that she went through. I can't imagine how she'll walk away from that interaction feeling better about herself, or feeling like, you know what, I'm not going to people please. You can shame somebody out of doing drugs. You can shame somebody out of cheating, but it's temporary. It's only a temporary fix, because eventually, if these are habits or deep-rooted cycles, you're not breaking it with shame. The key difference here between what he's doing and what therapists do, he's giving advice. It's not clinical treatment, though. And I just want to make that very, very clear, because therapy isn't just somebody giving you insight, validating, being empathetic. It's not somebody telling you what to do either. You can take actionable steps. Yes, you and a therapist can sit down and make next steps for what you want to do. I have reoccurring clients that I see. I am constantly, every session, assessing them. I'm assessing their mannerisms. I'm assessing how they're saying things, what they're saying. I'm assessing if they're looking at me, if they're looking down. I'm assessing what they look like physically. Have they showered? Do they smell? Is that abnormal for them? Is that normal for them? I'm assessing their relationship patterns. I'm assessing every single thing about that person for clinical relevance. That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to understand those patterns over time. I'm creating treatment plans that are tailored to that specific person. It's different from, listen, this guy can exist on the internet for the rest of forever and live his best life, and I'll probably still follow him. But what I won't do is look to him as the authority on mental health, especially when he's not a licensed practitioner. And again, this isn't just one person. I don't want to just focus. He's the person that kind of made me have this epiphany in the first place. But you can see this on so many different scales. His page, I think, is problematic because he has doctor in front of his name. And he kind of uses that in his intro video. Like, oh, I didn't just walk with people for however many years. I have the 2 PhDs to prove it. And so he's kind of taking this position of authority when realistically he's not a licensed clinician. I'm just gonna say it over and over again. Advice is great. We can all use advice. We could all use good tips and good tools and things that we can do in our lives that would help better us and progress us along in life. We could all use that. Just because we're doing that on the internet does not mean that we are therapists or we should position ourselves very closely to therapists. Or in this guy's case, I believe that he is, this is my opinion, but I believe that he's just letting people assume what I assumed is that he is a psychologist. And not many people are going to watch his videos and be like, that advice kind of, how he's approaching that kind of sucks. What are his credentials? People aren't going to do that. I was almost, when I was looking up this guy's credentials, I was almost 1000% sure before even typing the question mark that he was not a licensed clinician. And this was the first video that I had ever seen that I was actually paying attention and watching. And it took me 3 minutes watching him to realize that he's not a licensed clinician at all. Let's kind of tie it all together, okay? Why does any of this matter? Well, it matters if you're dealing with mental health challenges such as anxiety, trauma, relationship issues, depression, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, grief. If you're dealing with these very real and diagnosable mental health issues, you deserve more than general advice from someone who doesn't know you, is going to make very harmful assumptions about you. So to be clear, okay, I'm not saying that mental health content online needs to only be created by mental health practitioners like myself and more seasoned therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that we need to have all of the facts before we consume. And sometimes people aren't giving us all of the facts before we consume. And we're just using our brains and coming up with conclusions on our own. We have to stop confusing the mental health advice on the internet with therapy. We have to stop confusing the mental health advice givers with therapists. They're not one and the same. That's all I wanted to say. Like probably millions of people who follow this guy, I genuinely thought he was a psychologist. I've just been assuming that Dr. John Delony, whatever the fuck his name is, was a licensed clinician. But he's not, and I think that's important. So anyway, let me know if you like these videos. Let me know if you want me to make more videos like this. I love you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out. This was a discovery that I had made, and I thought it was really interesting. Because like probably millions of people who follow this guy, I genuinely thought he was a psychologist. I've just been assuming that Dr. John Delony, whatever the fuck his name is, was a not board certified, was a licensed clinician. But he's not, and I think that's important. So anyway, let me know if you like these videos. Let me know if you want me to make more videos like this, or maybe more structured. I love you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.